There he is, the boss, with his Dancing in the Dark song. And the video, who's that girl in the front row there? The one with the pretty eyes in the dark. Oh, he's taking her up on the stage. It's Courtney Cox, of course. Who would know that from that video she would go on to star in Friends and Cougar Town and all sorts of movies. Courtney Cox is 47 today. We never let the birthday of a beautiful woman pass without taking note, so happy birthday to the... is she officially divorced yet or not from David Arquette? They're on the way anyway. Separated, if nothing else. So Courtney Cox is 47 today. A true resident of Cougar Town.
I check my look in the mirror. Wanna change my clothes, my hair, my face, and I ain't getting nowhere. I'm just living in a dump like this.
She spent a little time in Michigan not that long ago making one of those screen pictures in Ann Arbor. Her husband was in the movie too, and that's when all the trouble started because he was caught running around partying in the bars in Ann Arbor. And so her Michigan experience might not have been as good as she'd hoped. The Michigan Education Association President Iris Salters was making the rounds yesterday, thanking House members who stood by the union on teacher tenure. The vote last week. Asked by Mirrors News what she thought of the overall education reform package, Iris Salters said, quote, "Not much," end quote. She accused lawmakers of dumping on teachers and putting bad stuff on those teachers in order to keep their friends in high places and in the area where they're not going to get hit at all. Her battle may be this week in the Senate, where the House passed a teacher tenure legislation. That awaits a committee vote, but she's not very impressed at all with the governor's fast track for reforming education. Senate Education Committee Chair Senator Phil Pavlov says he thinks he has the votes to move the bill, but that decision's going to be made in a closed-door caucus on Wednesday after the senators hear from former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, who is coming to talk on education reform this morning. And that should be quite fascinating because the way he reformed the education system in Florida during his 2 terms as governor was rather impressive. And by the way, did you know he was the first Republican ever to serve 2 consecutive terms as governor in Florida, the very first one in history? So good luck over there down the street today to former Governor Bush. He's the son of the 41st President of the United States and the brother of the 43rd President of the United States. And some people say he ought to run for President of the United States one of these days. Speaking of taxes, David Seelig is with us, principal at Seelig and Associates. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, sir. Thank you for having me on your program. It is a pleasure. Anytime I can be on in your state, it's a pleasure.
Welcome to Michigan. Over the past few years, from time to time, bandied about is the idea of a tax on services. It started with Governor Granholm, the previous governor, who thought that maybe, fortune tellers and suntan parlors and all that sort of thing, massage parlors too, I guess, ought to be taxed just like goods, and services. It never went anywhere, at least, till now. But New York has a curious case of a certain service being taxed now, and maybe that will open the floodgates, huh?
It's possible. It's really a fascinating issue. One of the moving forces here in my state, New York, is that we are having so many budgetary problems. New York is unable to balance its books, and we are constantly running in the red. As such, they looked at these dancers, these strippers in a particular place. The Seminole case involves a non-alcohol serving bar,
juice bar,
where individuals come in and they have soft drinks, but these scantily clad young ladies shake their moneymaker, and these men give them tips and such. Well, the fact of the matter is, New York would like a piece of the pie.
And a little piece of the action.
These are gray in fields. In other words, it's very difficult to get these young ladies to accurately report what they're earning. Very few of them do. They all say they do, but very few do. And the New York State came up with this ingenious method of enforcement, because now what they'll be able to do is use external indices. In other words, they can go to another topless bar, see how many dances are actually being performed, make their own extrapolations, and go ahead and slap that proprietor with a big, hefty bill. And unfortunately, the tax law, or fortunately, however you see it, you must disprove the government. The burden of proof is right on your narrow shoulders rather than the other way.
Who's going to get the job of going to the strip club and counting the lap dances?
Well, that's just it. This is a job, in our state at least, that falls under the rubric of civil enforcement. Now, the problem is, all that glitters is not gold. The enforcement of these issues is very expensive. So it remains to be seen what exactly they get. Now, I know this particular club hired an attorney who's representing him. He has raised an argument that these young ladies are very similar to dance artists and performers. I think it's a lousy argument that will not carry the day, but he appears to be confident in it, so we'll see how it plays out. I know New York State is in the business at the moment of trying to collect as much money as they can, not to allow novel arguments to prevail if they don't have to.
Well, there's a privacy matter, too, isn't there? In other words,
I'm not entirely certain how the privacy matter weighs in here. In other words, these individuals are spending cash. Now, admittedly, the men who are spending this money, in all likelihood, that money has already been taxed. But the young ladies who receive it, it's almost entirely cash. They are not paying taxes, and most likely a significant portion of that cold, hard cash, that mean green in these days of want and woe, are going south. Whether you stop on your way home and buy groceries or anything of the kind, it's a nice way to avoid the tax liability, and the state has had enough.
South of the border, in fact. So someone's going to come along, count the lap dances, and pull the 20s out of the G-strings of the strippers and give it to the state of New York. What has it all come to? Michael Patrick Shields, Michigan's Morning Show, on Wednesday.